Take me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in Gravity Falls.
Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Charlie.
I'm Ella.
Ella, do you notice anything different about my energy today?
Yeah, you know, I do notice something different about today. Something, it's a big day, I would say. It's something that we've been looking forward to for a while now, and it's kind of a big step for the podcast. I mean...
What, that I got surgery on my toes and I'm using my standing desk as a sitting desk?
You're sitting down for the first time on this podcast, Charlie. How does it feel?
Not a single soundbite of this podcast has been recorded with me sitting. I was about to say that's probably not true because we play stuff from our old videos. But yeah, I just got some new toes put in.
Yeah.
When people ask what surgery you got, and it is toe related, it turns out they don't actually want you to answer.
That seems hypocritical.
I know, but whatever. So I've been going with either I got new toes put in, or I finally got that peg leg.
And now a historic meeting on this podcast between your butt and a chair.
It's true. My butt and a chair have not yet met on this podcast.
Kind of star-crossed lovers.
It's true. They never can seem to be in the same place at the same time.
Until today.
It is another historic meeting, actually. Do you recall 2 episodes ago when I said Gravity Falls was my 5th favorite thing?
You know what? I do remember that. I remember every clip of this podcast.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
So when you're live blogging the podcast to us in our Discord, we always have context.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't forget things we said.
No, why would we forget things that we said? We said them.
Now, because you and I are the same person, that also means you remember things I said, correct?
Yeah. Well, I remember everything that you said from the first time that we met in real life at 2014 New York Comic Con. That is the thing I remember 100% of.
Here's a little best friend quiz. If Gravity Falls is my 5th favorite thing, what are the top 4?
All right. Well, I'm gonna say that I don't know if I would put these in a particular order. I don't know if I would stake any money on that. But Monkey Island's in there.
Yes, that's number 1.
Monkey Island's number 1. Okay, I could have. Now I'm regretting. I regret not going to the casino on that one.
You could figure this out, I promise. You even know what number 2 is.
Number 2 is Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's Homestar Runner.
Okay,
yes.
You're right.
Yes,
You're right.
Yes.
Number 3. So is Pirates of the Caribbean in there?
I think it's definitely my favorite movie, but I have so many friends I've made because of Gravity Falls. So it's like I don't have people to talk. I don't have a social experience with Pirates of the Caribbean to the extent I do with Gravity Falls.
Because
so
I know you really got into it relatively recently.
Yes, it's probably number 6 or 7.
All right. Okay, well then...
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. Number 4 is Ace Attorney. All you have to guess is number 3.
Okay, well then in that case, number 3 would be The Same Old Songs But Live.
Well, the general discography.
The general oeuvre of one Molly Lewis, who, actually, you know what? Coincidence of coincidences.
Hey,
just happens to be in the museum with us today.
Ding dong, hello!
Hello! Wait, thanks for using the doorbell that we installed the other... Most people don't use it.
I mean, you put it on the counter in the gift shop, so I figured I would, ring the bell for service.
Yeah!
Oh, wait, don't I usually... Oh, when I just moved apartments, I normally have a hotel bell on my desk.
Do you really?
The one time
Your
I don't.
desk situation has been, you didn't mention when I came into the gift shop, the recent toe surgery. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we got that. And then we have a bell that goes ding dong instead of just ding.
There's 2 right next to each other, which I appreciated. Just got a whole scale here.
There's a ding bell and a dong bell.
There's a ding ding and a dong dong. I chose to sample.
You chose a little column A, a little column B.
I could have gone dong ding, but that's confrontational. I didn't want to set that tone.
Whoa.
I think that would have been kind of thrown off the whole energy of the podcast, which is already starting to happen. Listeners, I was not anxious to meet Jason Ritter or Rob Renzetti
or Michael
Rianda.
No.
But Molly, your music, and I hope this is okay to say, means a lot to me.
I'm honored, like chuffed to absolute pieces to be between Homestar and Ace Attorney on your list. That's really a golden little sandwich that I'm in.
It is.
Every Homestar and Ace Attorney and Gravity Falls and Monkey Island video I've made has a kazoo in it. I'm sure my listeners are familiar
That's true.
with my kazooing.
And a few episodes of this podcast, right?
Yes, I'm sure of it.
I mean, I remember, of course, because I remember everything perfectly.
That fascination comes from, well, three things, but they're all the same thing. One, you know the answer, don't you?
Were you?
I pity a fool.
Yeah, they used to be on my Wikipedia page that I would like.
That you would bring a rape whistle.
I would, yeah, and I would just hum into it. Because I would usually forget my kazoo.
Well, then, Molly, why don't you contextualize yourself for the listeners first, and then we'll get into the Charley of it all.
We're really in, like, just, I'm picturing one of those tornado machines you stand in to grab money, but instead of money, it's all just ideas. We're throwing in all these sort of plot threads.
That's what we do. We sort it out in the edit.
I'm a little anxious.
Listen, it's gonna get weird. That's the sort of
That's the
thread of the show, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. How would you contextualize me, Charlie?
How would I contextualize you?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. How many times has Stephen Fry kissed you on the cheek or forehead?
At least once.
Okay. Well, that's it then. We're done.
How many kisses has Stephen Fry given you, listeners? I thought not.
Write in, vote now on your phones. If you've been kissed more by Stephen Fry, we want to hear from you.
Is that enough contextualization? Did I do it?
Well, I guess to describe, we're sort of internet people, are we not? The three of us?
I would say so.
I've seen the internet.
Yeah, sort of. If the internet had passports, we would have those passports.
Yeah.
I grew up on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
And the highest compliment you could pay to someone is that they should have your baby.
Oh, it's true.
But this podcast isn't about that.
No.
I don't know if you realize I am paraphrasing your banter from your live album.
Would you believe I don't listen to my own stuff?
I get it. No, I get it.
People reference the podcast to us and we're like, that sounds like us.
Just sending the baby
exactly.
Moses up the river. Just like, goodbye, content. Have a good life,
Topical.
You belong to the world now.
It's out of my hands.
I was at the most hipster event of my entire life, a Sufjan Stevens concert in Brooklyn. And whenever he would forget his lyrics, he would stop playing and say into the microphone, I guess that just goes to show that this song doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the world.
That's a nice save. I like that.
I would have just openly admitted that I forgot and thanked the people for helping
And I was
me.
just like, shut up, hipster! But I was in Brooklyn and would have gotten beaten up if I did that.
Yeah.
Just pelted by PBR cans.
Don't let the handlebar mustaches hear you say that.
Yeah, I went to go buy water, and they were like, all right, so our water is blended with cucumbers. And I'm like, do you have, like
water?
And they're like, yeah, with cucumbers. I'm like,
You briefly became a conservative commentator. You were like, water, damn it!
I'm talking two molecules hydrogen, one oxygen. You
I
got it?
want your liberal water.
You
Just give me water.
You looked in the mirror and it was Dennis Leary looking back at you and you were like, oh no.
Yeah. What have I become?
Where did the queer pirate go?
Yeah.
So contextualize you. Okay, you're my favorite musician. You toured with Joko for a bit, Jonathan Colton. You tour with the Double Clicks primarily now. I was introduced to you when one of your songs was used in John Green's birthday video for Hank Green in 2010. There we go. We covered it all, I think.
Oh my God. It just turned into a pile of bones.
Yeah, you got your start on the YouTubes,
Yeah.
as they say.
I went viral accidentally when I was 17 with a
same.
ukulele cover of Toxic. It's terrifying, isn't it?
Right? Yeah.
When you barely have your whole sense of self congealed, then there's like an audience there kind of waiting for what you're going to do.
Oh, I didn't get my sense of self until like 2020 and was like fully internet famous in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
So I just have...
Amen to that, sister. I still don't know who I am.
Right, because it's like... It's a fantastic ukulele cover of Toxic by Britney Spears, but I'm sure it was overwhelming to be like, now, like, John Green knows who I am?
Oh, yeah. And I, like, literally, in that video, if you go back and watch it now, it's in beautiful 4:3, filmed on a flip camera. Remember those?
Of course.
And I was told by every adult in my life that if anybody saw my face on the internet, I'd get kidnapped or something.
And you did, by John and Hank Green.
I did get kidnapped by, I did get thrown into a van by Hank Green once.
Jonathan Colton threw you in a tour bus.
That's very true. No, I mean, it happened exactly as the prophecy was fulfilled. But like in that video, it's just the chin and a ukulele and like a puffy coat. And so I really enjoyed that nobody knew what gender I was for sure. They were just like, it's either a little boy or it's a lady. We don't know.
And then it turns out it's column A, column B.
It's pay what you want.
Just kind of, it's a sliding scale of gender, you know.
I'm a little boy and an old lady too.
Yeah, I'm slowly turning into my grandpa the further I get.
Yeah.
But like, you know, so that video got like, it was on College Humor, it was on Dig. Remember any of those things?
I do. I'm old too. Are you? Wait, hang on. Actually, I've always assumed that because I got into you when I was in high school that you were older than me. Some of these words you're saying has led me to believe we may be more of peers than I realized.
Yeah. I am Year of the Snake. I was born. So like, you remember when? Well, no, maybe you don't. So the Berlin Wall came down, and then 2 weeks later, I was born.
I personally am 1993.
Okay. So we would have been in the same school at the same time.
No, different coasts. Remember, space exists, not just time.
Well, sure. But I mean, like, we're talking sort of a freshman-senior sort of divide.
Okay.
You know, peers in that sense.
I hope that I forgot about my MySpace.
I forgot about it almost completely.
MySpace forgot about our MySpace.
It did slip my mind. Your wishes came true, Molly, except for the entombed in distant servers.
I hope we all gain worldliness and wisdom and maturity, but I hope most of all that MySpace falls into obscurity. I hope our profiles all go dead, entombed in distant servers, a monument to our youth, although lacking its observers.
Oh yeah, I should probably post that thing. I wrote an updated version of that for VidCon in 2019 because MySpace had pancakes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
And it was, I felt so old.
I know the version in your live album mentions MySpace and LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn's still around, right?
I don't know.
Yes, it is. It is, unfortunately.
I got a LinkedIn to attempt to book a guest for this podcast and then decided that I didn't care that much.
Yeah, not worth it. That's my second favorite Tom Anderson, though.
The MySpace Tom Anderson, is Ella's second favorite Tom Anderson after the Matrix Tom Anderson.
Although that's not his name.
MySpace Tom made headlines when he was 14 for hacking into JP Morgan Chase, I believe. So it is entirely possible that the hacker Tom Anderson in the 1999 film was named after the hacker that made headlines years prior. So MySpace Tom and Neo may be one and the same.
Yeah, well, and the Tom Anderson of MySpace fame is just kind of traveling the world with his MySpace buyout money. So
I wish that were the case. Unfortunately, he did donate to SpaceX. You were the chosen one!
Tom! That guy knows everyone.
Yeah, I thought he was just going to become a photographer and never work for a tech company again, because that's what he said he was going to do.
You promised, Tom. But yeah, so you got noticed because of this viral video, and now you're touring with Jonathan Colton of Portal, Still Alive fame, etc. And from there,
you went to do a site visit at the University of Puget Sound, and you were enrolled in a scary Bible college at the time.
Oh my God!
And you used the college visit. Yeah, usually I look up information about guests before we interview them.
But this is just you recite this in your sleep, don't you?
I sat here like, should I look up at it? I'm like, no, I know too much about Molly. If I have any additional information before the interview, she will be uncomfortable. Do you have a preference towards she or they, or
no,
interchangeable?
Whatever
okay,
feels
cool.
correct.
Just making sure.
It's really I think about it as like letting people into my queerness. So whatever you are comfortable with, that is good by me. Yeah,
that is the same way when people apologize for saying he. I'm like, oh, cool. When did that happen? I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah,
because I'm like, as long as you don't make fun of me for my voice cracking.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's we were talking about something.
We were talking about
Sorry about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlapping contexts going on.
There always is, but it'll work out in the edit.
Editing a podcast is a great way to learn all of your friends' vocal tics. You know,
That is
And they're also
true.
a great way to, when your friends say, "Hey, you want to do something?" Say, "Nope, I am at my computer for 3 days on end."
oh my God, yeah, like that's when I wrote a musical called Thanksgiving versus Christmas. Let me get back to the contextualizing. Like,
Sorry.
So, like, I have been
Do you
making
have an
like
ADHD diagnosis?
I totally do. How did you know?
Because I'm recognizing some things I see in myself, and I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be a long one."
Your listeners got to know what they're in for at this point. Like on that introduction
This is
alone.
episode 41, Molly.
This
Yeah.
episode is coming right after an episode in which, for the first hour, we just talked about Weird Al.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering when the Gravity Falls part was gonna happen, but like I
it
appreciate
doesn't
all
have
this
to.
this world building that's going on.
Oh yeah, we do it. We do it. It'll fall into place.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Sort of a Zen
Yeah.
navigation thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dirk Gently
this
style.
building just kind of, it doesn't have, like, concrete rooms or anything.
Listen, this voyage is headed wherever the wind shall take us, Molly.
Yeah, having a museum on a boat is really a bold choice.
We moved it to a boat for our Flag Means Death bonus episode. We tried to move it back,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of heavy stuff.
It's really
Yeah.
easy to move something onto a boat, but moving it off of a boat?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Run the ship aground? Nah, no way.
No.
Yeah, I'm very good at sailing. Docking, we'll work on it.
Yeah, sailing
go
is the
on.
easy part. It's
Landing.
same with like
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Anyone can fly a plane.
Is landing a plane that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be qualified to get in a cockpit because of the landing. You can probably figure the flying out.
A computer does all the rest of it these days.
Exactly. I'm not a flyer, I'm a lander.
I'm the landing guy. Okay, let me think about this. So I'm an internet songwriter person. I accidentally went viral in 2007 when I was 17, and I was scared about having to enter the real world and get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to post some of my own stuff. And around the same time, Jonathan Colton and the Green Brothers were like, hey, this is pretty good. We're internet people. And
Oh, that's who they are.
that's how they introduced themselves. Hi, I'm Internet Man John Green.
Hi, I'm Internet Funny Man, John Green.
Hi, I'm John Green. I don't live in a physical space anymore. I miss my friends.
I don't type on paper anymore. It's all just words into a camera, baby. That's my John Green impression.
I don't remember how to make at least 24 of the 26 letters. It's been so long. But JG, I got JG. I've signed the heck
yeah.
out of JG.
My next book's all semicolons, baby.
When I was in high school, somebody told me I looked like John Green, and I didn't know how to take that.
Oh.
And I think that's probably the moment I decided to transition, so I become unrecognizable.
There can only be two.
When I was in high
Yeah.
school, I used to get angry video game nerd a lot. So I was like,
Oh.
hell yeah, I do. New Jersey,
Ass.
represent. Ass.
You know who I got a lot is
Yeah.
Elliot Page. A lot of people would tell me, oh, you
Okay.
look like that person
Nice.
from Juno. And I'm like, all right.
Nice.
My sister said you look like one of my friends and I shouldn't be a fan of you. And to listen to your songs, it just said, this sounds like something one of your friends could do, Charlie. And I'm like, well, I like my friends.
That's the point.
I don't want things that sound like famous people could do them because I don't want to talk to famous people.
I don't relate to famous people. That's the magic of it.
No.
Yeah.
I relate
And-
intensely to you. I think we've only known each other, 20 minutes at this point, and I think you understand.
So you toured
Oh,
with the Green Brothers, Jonathan Colton,
Yeah.
Paul and Storm, correct?
Yeah.
Paul and Storm, who were
Storm.
recently on our sister podcast, Come On Fahugo Pods.
That's
Oh, no
true.
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They got a deep Homestar history, those two.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ballad of the Sneak and so on.
Mhm.
Yeah, toured with them and wrote a musical called Thanksgiving versus Christmas, which nobody needed, but I needed it.
I think deep down they knew they needed it.
Aren't you half Jewish?
Quarter, yeah, Ashkenazi
Quarter,
on my dad's side, yeah.
Yeah, but we still like to watch the other holidays fight, like for entertainment purposes.
I'm a quarter Jewish and a big Santa person as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and my grandpa was a Messianic Jew, which I don't
Mhm.
quite, like, he's a Jew that also believes in Jesus, and I'm like, wait, what? Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter.
No, there's a term for that. There's a separate term for that.
Yeah, they have a whole thing going on.
Yeah, I don't pretend to understand it, but yeah, I did write one Hanukkah song. That's the thing about that Thanksgiving musical is like I wanted just a deadline and sort of a set of constraints within to write new Thanksgiving songs, and then most of that musical was about Christmas.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back, I guess.
Yes.
But I think to date, no, and I have a couple songs. I got a grumpy song about Hillary Clinton that's out there that's doing some numbers.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that, and you're going to hear Ella's cover of that at the end of this episode.
Yay!
That'll come into play here.
Yeah, well, you tend to write songs about things that, to the best of my knowledge, no one has ever written.
Mhm.
Yeah, and what particularly stands out to me about your work, and this is something that I've tried to do with my work for a long time, and is what made me really connect with yours, is like you take subjects that are on the surface comedic or superficial, or you can't really, like, what can you really write about this? People might just write it off. But what you do is you really dig into it and find, like, the humanity or, like, the character. You're like, what is the subject, this person's, like, perspective, and how can I find something, like, human within that? Like, yes, it is ostensibly about this, but it is really about this other thing, this deeper thing.
When every single person on the news had to get their jokes in about Lisa Nowak and then Hillary Clinton, you were there like, but how would it feel to feel that?
Right, yes, thank you. And it's, I don't know, like there is something that maybe you probably can relate to. Just sort of the consequence of that as I was starting out was my songs could be summarized in a tweet in some way. It could be, here's a song about Lisa Nowak, here's a song about Mr. T riding a luck dragon.
Yeah.
Well, that one's... That's a little heady. I don't think everyone hears that and they're like, oh, I know what's about to happen.
Yeah, but I mean, I try. And I was, after I wrote, I have a song about the Abraham Lincoln assassination in 3 parts.
Right. That's my I mean, it's one of my favorites. And that's the thing, is that you don't always... You're not endorsing the characters that you are writing as, because you've written from the perspective of John Wilkes Booth, but there's a level of empathy that you give to your subjects that is no matter how like weird they are, you know, or ostensibly comedic, you find something human about it.
Every other song is a love song, but very few are about a prospective surrogate proposing artificial insemination, but that is something beautiful if you've lived that.
Yeah, it's a form of devotion, for sure.
There's no irony to that devotion in your song, An Open Letter to Stephen Fry.
Mr. Stephen Fry, I see no reason why you wouldn't want someday maybe to let me have your baby. You would be amazed what science does these days, so think it over. And one day, if you're sure of it, then I could be your surrogate.
Yes, that is really what it comes down to, is that genuineness.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to be clear. If Stephen Fry was like, all right, let's go to it, I would sort of be like, oh, wait, it's just a rhetorical...
I was just being poetic.
I got that as well.
Yeah, and he was, fortunately extremely gracious when I had the opportunity to meet him and sing that song to him, which was literally the most terrifying thing I've ever done.
Oh my, I imagine.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, when you sort of have a hit on the internet, at least in like, late aughts YouTube, when the comments were less racist, people would say, oh, I love this, I want to have your baby. And I kind of thought about, like, what does that mean, really?
Exactly. You're digging into the humanity.
Were the comments less... I disagree on that regard, because in late aughts, YouTube was when I got the comment, I didn't realize this channel was run by Tyrone Goldstein when they first saw my Jufro.
Oh, God. Yeah, I got a comment on, it was a Patsy Cline cover, and somebody said her voice would be perfect if she lost 15 pounds.
What?
I don't think that's a factor.
I don't think that would change how your voice sounds. No.
Is that, her larynx is really being weighed down on by all that neck fat.
Just can't get the diaphragm expanded because of all this gut. Just gotta drop some of that, I guess.
That's where the diaphragm is.
My vocal coach said, yeah.
Yeah, that vocal coach gave you some very helpful advice in that comment.
Yeah.
My professional medical opinion.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Why don't you drop 15 pounds and then we'll talk?
And like
Sorry. Okay. It's done interrupting.
Yes, our American Cousin story. Yes.
Oh yeah, no. So Stephen Sondheim wrote. I hadn't heard the play Assassins, where he does basically that. But there's still, like, I don't know. Certainly one of my goals when I started out was, songwriters like They Might Be Giants and Jonathan Colt. Like Jonathan wrote one of my favorite love songs. It's still a love song, but it's about Pluto and Pluto's moon, which are almost the same size. So they rotate sort of like dancers. And it's just one of the most romantic flippin' things I've ever heard. But it's also like I appreciate when a song is in some way rooted in like factual accuracy.
Yeah.
Like when just the language is like concrete and like I think ballads need to make a comeback, I can't think of.
I agree.
Yeah, like a lot of. And I understand why there are so many songs about love. It is such a common
Molly,
experience.
Pivot to balladeer.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, gosh, like if I could be the balladeer in a production of Assassins, preferably like a gender flopped, I would love that so much.
Is it weird that that's the second time that Assassins has come up on this podcast?
It's not.
I'm manifesting it. We're doing a production of Assassins, y'all. It's gonna be on the boat.
Like we have 3 trans people here who love Sondheim. Let's make it happen. I don't know.
But like second episode in which Assassins has come up, we mentioned it back in our Matrix episode, I think. Yeah.
And we also talked about it in
Into the Bunker,
because we talked about Sondheim's fascination with Mist. Yeah.
I often Sondheim apparently wanted to make a video game before
he did.
He like had plans for how to several times he kind of ran at it. He wanted to make a video game using the story of Into the Woods to teach kids the fundamentals of music theory.
Oh my god, okay. Well, it would explain why I don't understand music theory.
Right, because that game's not in the Splinter timeline where that game got made. Yeah.
I love point-and-click adventure games. I love Into the Woods is probably my second favorite musical, third.
There was some article I read it might have been one of those New York mags. It was like right before Sunday in the Park was sort of in the works, and what was the one that came before that? Merrily? I think Merrily We Roll Along.
That sounds about right.
I'm mostly an Into the Woods fan who has watched Assassins as an extension of my Into the Woods fandom.
Yeah, it was the last thing he did with his sort of, I can't remember the guy's name, but the collaborated through Sweeney Todd and all those. The last thing they did flopped, and he was like, well, I can't show my face in this town again. Maybe I'll make video games. This is my Sondheim voice, apparently. Howdy, everybody. I'm Stephen Sondheim.
That's what he sounds like.
Whoa, that's stellar.
Hello.
That was uncanny. I'm a little scared.
Can we get that for another podcast? We're doing a Gallivant podcast. He might come up. Can we get you to voice
Sondheim with that uncanny...
Yeah, Sam Elliott style. Hey there, get me another sarsaparilla. I got a song about barbers.
Hey there. It's me, Sam Elliott as Stephen Sondheim.
I feel you, Joanna. Yeah.
Sometimes I just need a nice pie to get me through the day. That's why I only shop.
I just love my piano and my crosswords. It's me, Stephen Sondheim. He's getting more. He's drifting to the south. He's drifting out of New York, and then we're sort of in the Carolinas somewhere.
Well, that's how balladeers
That's
do.
true.
Yeah.
The wandering bard, Stephen Sondheim.
And his accent changes as he wanders.
He's a chameleon, that guy.
I'm sorry, were you finished with your point, or did we interrupt?
I literally don't remember what my point was.
Okay, now I feel it is appropriate to say this. So, for me, ADHD homework just never found a balance, never could find a strategy to make homework doable. So I was miserable at college because it's way more homework focused than high school. And I was there 3 months and just feeling really sad and kind of out of options. And I was doing what I always did when I was sad, since the year prior when I discovered your music in that birthday video. I was listening to all of the songs you had released on that point in order. And something about the way the music made me feel made me say, if I am not happy here, I don't have to be here. So, like, one of the biggest decisions I've ever made in my entire life, you were the soundtrack to that.
Geez.
So that's why I'm like, talking
I'm
to
honored. Yeah, and I recorded a lot of that stuff while I was in college, also stinking at homework. You know, the whole story of that Same Old Songs But Live album was when I graduated from college, I had planned that show for the day after I walked at graduation because I was like, I am never going into education again. I'm not going to set foot in a classroom. This is my job now. Like, and so
And that's your way of celebrating.
yeah, and so that, like, you know what? I don't really want to be here at all. Like, that energy was definitely channeled into that music, so I'm glad that came through on the other side.
And I mean, it's a major life decision influenced
Oh my God, yeah.
by your work,
Yes.
right?
And you changed the lyrics of I Pity the Fool from you're old and you're in college to you've graduated college.
Hold it, kid.
Sorry. I'm not going to be able to purge it out of my brain just because
No, I
I need to.
appreciate the acknowledgement that you've done it after you've done it is better than no acknowledgement.
And also, better than purporting like, oh, I got this.
And-
I'm gonna be totally normal.
And much like, the Gravity Falls discussion that we will get into after the episode,
Eventually, one
yeah,
day.
I'm trusting that it'll happen. You could say pretty much anything to me about my, Gravity Falls, for one, Gravity Falls canon, but also my stage banter at any given time, people that I toured with. You could say any of that to me with confidence, and I'd be like, yeah, I trust Charley and Ella implicitly. I assume they wouldn't lie.
And it's influenced all of your, like, a lot of your interests moving forward, Charley, right? Because I know that's what drew you to Steven Universe. Check out that show.
Yeah, I mean, well, what drew me to Steven Universe was a number of things. Everyone I knew was in the fandom, and Ray had told me that Greg and Steven's relationship, audio-visual technician living out of a car and excited child, reminded her of me and my father and I. But yeah, the reason, yes, I stuck around was because, there's ukulele in this. I love ukulele for some reason. And that has influenced this podcast because at a certain point, I'm like, they're not too expensive. I'm going to try to learn. And it didn't really make me happy. My brain is not mathematical, and playing notes is that for me. But I did get one song down, and that was Your Reality from Doki Doki Literature Club. And that is why that is, to date, the only song I have been the sole person covering in this podcast.
Yeah, at the end of our Seuss and the Real Girl episode.
So
you can
it's
hear that.
influenced the Seuss and the Real Girl episode. Look, Mozart had to be someone's Mozart the first time.
That's true. And
someone had to be the person to tell John Lennon that to them he was bigger than Jesus for him to feel comfortable saying it out loud at an interview.
right. And as a ukuleleist,
Ukulelist.
A ukulele
A ukulele, yes.
is a term that Molly coined and will not remember coining.
You're right, ukulele for me, but I'm saying what's the general gender neutral?
Ukulelist is the...
I'm a ukulele.
Ukulele is very good, yeah. Because Paul Saborin of Paul and Storm actually coined ukulele for me.
Oh, gotcha.
Parallel thinking.
Paul Saborin's fantastic. I one time made Ballad of the Sneak shirts by grabbing the assets from the cartoon and uploading them to a shirt website. And I printed 2 before I attended my first Paul and Storm concert.
Nice.
And I did not know about the bit in opening band where it is appropriate to throw things on stage. So I met them afterwards.
You would have gotten a call out. They would have...
Yeah,
but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay because at that moment, what was thrown was a napkin that said, I really like your music.
Oh.
So the lyric changed to, we're glad to say, as of today, one napkin has been thrown.
Yay.
Charley had introduced me to your work through Road Trip first because we listened to Road Trip theme songs.
I had been sending you her songs for years. Road Trip was just, you were a captive audience at that point because I was operating. Yeah, I made a Road Trip playlist that has Road Trip, specifically the live version, the graduation version. I really like the instrumentation there.
I don't tell my parents, and I don't tell my friends. I just grab some river tubing, and I pull on my Depends, and then I drive. It's time for a road trip.
It had Moving Right Along.
Oh, yep.
From Muppet Movie.
Moving right along.
On the Open Road.
From the Goofy movie.
On the open road.
But that was the first time that I wasn't, like, actively in high school or college when I was listening to it, so I had, like, time to, like, clear the space in my brain.
Oh, yeah. Getting you to click links and retain what you were watching when you were in college was close to impossible.
Yeah, and I stand by that.
Ella was great at homework, Molly.
Yeah.
Too good. I was like, just blow it off like once. Like, what's that gonna change?
I wouldn't be good at it anymore. Like, I couldn't do it again if you paid
It's
me
a habit
to.
you get into, yeah.
You had a maximum number of homeworks in you as a person, and it just happened to
Yeah,
match
spent
up.
all your homework spoons.
You know,
Yeah.
I got the senioritis. I that number was dwindling at the end.
She's
I
only
was like,
human.
all
Yeah.
right, I'm running on empty here. When do I get out of here? But I did, and I lived to tell the tale. And made a cool cartoon in the process. And so, yeah, and again, what drew me to the work was like the same aspects that I try to capture in my work of like, what if this thing that you think is just silly is actually like something human, like a basically meme like news story about an astronaut can be like, let's explore that sort of weird love story, and like a presidential candidate, let's explore like the aftermath of that, or like
What would it feel like to genuinely believe you were about to become the world's first female president and then lose to some idiot?
Yeah.
and then like one of my favorites is like, what if a weird strategy in a video game is actually like avoiding emotional confrontations?
Swords are really not my style. Poison capsules take a while, but the interaction's what I mostly dread. But when my hand is at the ready and my arm is strong and steady, I can chop you in the ass until you're dead.
So Ella tries to mix it up and not always do a ukulele cover of our theme song for the outro, and sometimes throw in various ukulele covers, as is her prerogative as a ukulele. Thank you, Paul Support.
Yeah. Trademark.
TM.
TM.
So she was asking me if Stanchurian Candidate would be a good place for your song.
Pantsuit Sasquatch.
Since 2010, I had vowed to myself that whenever I got a full-time job, I would pledge to your Patreon, and in November, that became the case. So I was like, oh, I can ask her if you can use it since I'm in her Patreon Discord. Actually, I could ask her any number of things.
So we were then if a guest is any level familiar with Gravity Falls, that's more than enough rationale to have them on the podcast. So
Oh, did you hear that? We mentioned Gravity Falls, Molly.
Oh,
You believed in us. No. Molly believed. It was me who doubted we would. Molly knew from the start we'd get to it.
yeah, you've done 44 of these. I assume you know how to bring it around.
Oh, only 41. We're not. That's why we're still a little rusty.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
43rd
you're right.
one's really going to shine. Yeah.
that's where you hit your
Oh, yes.
stride in the podcasting world.
I think so.
Any podcast that has fewer than 43 episodes, I just skip, because there's no way they know what they're doing.
No idea what they're doing. No.
Yeah.
Molly, it now is finally relevant. What is your experience with Gravity Falls?
I would say that I've consumed all of the episodes in some way. I don't know that I have given it both of my eyeballs at all times because the voice acting is so good that sometimes I would just kind of put it on all the speakers in my house.
Yeah, it works as a radio play.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really so good. The music is so good.
Absolutely.
And I did, so I've seen all of it, and had also the great pleasure of introducing my nibblings to it,
Aww.
and they were just at the right age.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and it was the first time I really got to cash in like the cool ant points.
Are you a are you a grunkle? Do you insist on that kind of nomenclature?
No, I don't feel I've earned the grunkle
Yeah.
title of yet.
You're not great yet.
No, I mean if
You're an okay ant at best.
Well, some ants are born great. But
and I actually don't know. I didn't have a say in the title Aunt Molly. That's just kind of, they started calling me that one day.
but if you could
But
choose.
I don't actually know what the gender neutral, I know the gender neutral term.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you the gender neutral, and you're gonna hate it and stick with Aunt Molly.
Okay.
It's uncle.
Uncle with an AU.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
I guess that's better than like ontle, like, or something.
Now you have not given yourself the title Grunkle Molly.
No.
May I call you Grunkle Molly?
Absolutely, you may.
Okay, Grunkle Molly. So, you said you've been mentioning as we've been scheduling this that you don't really know a whole lot about Gravity Falls, and you're worried that will inhibit your ability to podcast. But I'm so excited to tell you, you are the target demographic of this podcast.
Our first guest knew nothing about Gravity Falls.
We started this podcast 41 episodes ago because we realized that with the DVD box release and the release of Disney Plus, the way you watched Gravity Falls was becoming the main way to watch Gravity Falls, and our experiences were disappearing.
And we felt like, because of the nature of this show, that experience is worth preserving and talking about and trying to recreate in kind of an auditory museum format.
So, Molly, we are here for you specifically.
All
This
right.
podcast was designed with your life experiences, not yours, but those like yours.
No, yeah, one day I was just like, I'm really worried about Molly Lewis's experience of Gravity Falls, Charlie. What are we going to do about it?
It really sounds like you know a lot of my life experience already, so that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Listen, don't become a public figure, kids. Because then someone's going to talk to you like this one day, and it'll be weird. It's always weird. It's weird when it happens to me.
Truly, be careful what you wish for, children. Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna get weird.
So I was briefly a YouTuber successful enough to live off of sponsorships for a 6-month period.
Bless you.
And people are like, I've been thinking about getting into YouTube. What advice do you give? And I always respond, oh, don't.
That's your advice.
Yeah, do you like dysphoria?
Yeah.
Jump
Ooh,
on in.
That's where they make it.
That's the factory where they make it.
Yeah.
We have some fan mail today. We have an email from Jay Draws, who says, I love how your podcast is based around the history of the fandom experience, because I never seen anyone do that before, and it's scary how well it opened up so many memories of mine. I recall being around Dipper and Mabel's age when watching Disney Channel and seeing the teaser trailer for Gravity Falls. I was mesmerized by seeing a show about two siblings going to live with their uncle in a cabin in the woods in the Pacific Northwest during the summer. That blew my mind because I felt like they were writing about my life because me and my sibling went through the same thing, minus the whole portal in the basement thing. Unless...
Anyway, Gravity Falls felt like the first real show I was able to enjoy with my older sibling. He loved Grunkle Stan and the comedy, while I enjoyed the mystery. And Mabel. We talk about author theories often. Around the season 1 finale, my sibling stopped watching because it was getting too serious, and I was heavily disappointed in him, but I kept watching it. I then made friends in school through the show to talk about it instead. I even started drawing fan art and made a crossover AU with my favorite musical at the time, Be More Chill, called Be More Weird.
That sounds awesome.
It's also the time I started posting fan art online. It's extremely cringy, but that just shows how much my art has improved.
Exactly. Anyway, years later, I was rewatching Gravity Falls, and my sibling walked in and said, so did you ever find out who the author of the journals was? I was like, watch season 2 and find out, I said, super salty that he stopped watching, and after all these years now he wants to know. And then I'm pretty sure he looked it up after. P.S. If you want to see my old fan art from middle school, I can try and dig it up and post it on the Discord. Yes, please. I would love to see fan art.
I'm gonna go with, you don't have to do that just because it would make our day. If it makes you uncomfortable, don't send it. We don't have to. We'll take a look if you want to send it. That's up to you, not
Yeah.
us.
We love seeing fan art in the Discord.
And we love people setting their own
That
boundaries.
is also true. We love both of those things exactly the same amount.
I couldn't
I
pick.
couldn't pick between my children.
We also received an iTunes review. Once again, if you rate us 5 stars on iTunes and write the review in character as a Gravity Falls character, we will do the voice and read it for the show.
The writer of the review is cat emoji, taco emoji, burrito emoji, which is a fascinating name.
Hey dudes, I've been keeping up for around how long it takes to vacuum Abuela's house, and I'm already loving it. Keep up the great work, dudes. Wonder who that one was
I don't
from.
know.
Well,
But it's nice of him to vacuum Abuela's house. I know Abuela is usually the one who has to vacuum her own walls and her own face. And
you know who that was? That was Abuela's maid. Before we get into this episode proper, I want to let you know that someone, the episode prior to this, had been impatient for the episode release and aware of my vocal mimicry and improv prowess, and so just sent me the episode synopsis and said, make the episode for me. I can't wait. So I turned on my microphone and just did it in one take. And that kind of blew up as a Tumblr audio. So I figured I was going to go all out with the next one and get Ella to animate it. I will not be showing you that animation. Ella is not proud of it, but I will if you click, if you go to Discord and click the, should say Charley is screen
I'm watching
sharing.
the stream. Yeah, I'm looking at a frog eating some bugs.
I don't know why it gave it that thumbnail. That was not the album art.
I love it.
It was the album art from something else I downloaded.
Okay.
I love it.
All right, here we go.
What probably happens in The Stanchurian Candidate?
Ah, the Grim Reaper. I was wondering when you'd arrive.
You've already said that line.
Yes, but this time you're actually him. Dies.
Without a mayor, Gravity Falls has gone to complete chaos.
Hang on a second, Stan. Does the mayor have like a house that he's supposed to live in? Is there like a mayor's house in town?
It's possible.
I have an idea. You should run for mayor.
That's a great idea. I'll run for mayor.
The Gravity Falls mayoral debate shall commence.
Oh, well, hey there, Stanford. Terrible impression of Bud Gleeful. You're running for mayor?
Yes, that means it's terrible impression of Bud Gleeful versus terrible impression of Stanford Pines.
It's Stanley Pines.
No, it's not.
What was that, like a horse?
It is I, the Quentin Tremblay, the third, the once mayor of Gravity Falls and the true mayor for life, and I'm here to reclaim my position.
Oh, now everything's back to the status quo.
The anomaly has escaped. Chaos is reigning over Gravity Falls or something.
Yay.
Previously on Gravity Falls.
That was 1 minute, 29 seconds long. It took me 1 minute and 29 seconds to record it.
Was that all one take?
That was all one take, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
I mean, you say that, it wasn't like good. Like you could hear I'm just confused.
It's a confusing show, though.
You're right.
So, of all the things we've discussed in the first hour of this recording, how many of them are Stanchurian Candidate, the 14th episode of Season 2 of Gravity Falls?
Pretty freewheeling operation.
We are.
The Stanchurian Candidate is the 14th episode of Season 2 of Gravity Falls, and the 34th episode overall. It premiered on August 24th, 2015 on Disney XD. It was directed by Matt Brawley, written by Jeff Rowe, Josh Weinstein, and Alex Hirsch, with additional material by Michael Rianda.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to pull up a little something for you, Molly. This is a blast from the past, certainly, but it is a nostalgic time capsule and no spoiler book club. We used to call these digital video discs.
Oh.
You ever seen these?
Digital video disc. What is this? Is it like a video game?
Picture if a YouTube video was sold on a PlayStation disc.
I got a question for you, Charlie.
Yes.
What was the first DVD that you bought with your own money when you had the freedom to do so?
That's a really good question. It was Quantum Leap.
Amazing.
Because my sister had gotten the first season. No, my dad had gotten the first season of Quantum Leap as a present from my sister. My sister got so hooked watching it with him that she got the second season. And I had already rewatched every episode, and I'm like,
You gotta complete the set.
yeah, what happens next? I need to know. So then I, when I was like 14 or 15, whatever age it's legal, worked as a counselor at a summer camp. So I had money of my own for the first time. I'm like, I can finally know what happens in season 3 of Quantum Leap.
You know, when I was, I think my mom intuited that I had ADHD, but didn't have the word for it. Because when I was in middle school, she was like, you know what you should do is you should plan out your day, your tomorrow, as if somebody else is going to hop into your body and have to follow your instructions. And then when I was in high school, I found out the plot of Quantum Leap, and I was like, oh, okay. So if Scott Bakula hops into my body, I need to put out an outfit for Scott Bakula and write a to-do list for Scott Bakula.
So being understimulated and thus losing control of your behavior if it results in serotonin is a bit like being quantum leapt into.
That's right.
Oh, that show Quantum Leap. My life's pretty much like that.
All right. Without further ado,
Let's get into the Stanchurian Candidate with Molly Lewis. Molly Lewis is not in the Stanchurian Candidate.
That you know
That is who we are
of.
watching it with.
Well, that's their loss.
That's true. That we know of.
Stan Pines is reckless.
You may know me as that guy who accidentally let all those bees loose in that elementary school a few years back.
Stan Pines is a criminal.
I was gonna shoplift most of this.
Stan Pines has a weird head.
Your head is more ears than face.
Stan Pines, literally the worst choice for mayor of Gravity Falls. Paid for by the committee to elect Bud Gleeful.
Brand new Gravity Falls, Monday, August 24th at 8:30 on Disney XD.
So we just watched the Stanchurian Candidate with Molly Lewis, and boy, that seems quaint today, doesn't it? Remember when politicians would get disqualified because of their extensive criminal record and general unpleasantness?
Yeah, what year did this episode come out?
This was 2015.
Oh, we were so sweet back then.
We were sweet summer children.
So I will tell you this. We knew that Donald Trump would be running for president the next year at this point. We all thought it was hilarious.
It was really funny at the time, believe it or not.
And this episode would have been in production way before that.
That is also true, yes.
Yes, but it released when he had announced his candidacy.
Yes.
So
and everyone was like, no, seriously though.
So as a joke, as a funny joke, when Stan had an election Twitter that Alex made to promote the episode, he only followed one account.
Oh no.
No, Molly, put yourself in 2015 shoes. That's a good joke.
That's a really funny joke, and none of this is the episode's fault, but it is a little harder to watch now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. Granted, as we said before, everything's fine now. Everything's solved. We got a different guy now. It's all good. All done.
Yes.
It's gonna be fine.
We have no more problems.
There are only a handful of corrupt politicians in this world.
Yes, exactly.
Because I remember when, the former president got elected, everybody was like, how did this happen? And there was a lot of talk about how opaque the electoral college process is and just districting. And so with this episode's like, okay, so the way we elect people is there's a debate in front of the mountain in the shape of the old mayor's face, and then we throw a birdseed at somebody, and then an eagle comes out.
Gravity Falls elections are based on two events. The Wednesday stump speech, held on an actual stump, and the Friday debate, wherein townsfolk throw birdseed at the candidate they liked most. At the end, they release a freedom eagle who will fly to the candidate covered in more seed and bestow a birdly kiss upon him, anointing him mayor. I couldn't make this up if I wanted to.
That does kind of feel like it's sort of a mix of the electoral college process and also Groundhog Day.
It's a bit of that, yeah.
Yes, it is the Groundhog Day mythos of what determines how much is left of... And
Yeah.
then, that was all... Writer Jeff Rowe said that in just one string of, just breathed in and then said that in one breath, because that's what he's like.
Just like Amadeus, just no eraser marks on the page. Just
Yeah.
Exactly. And I bet that's how they, in-universe, wrote the town charter
Yeah.
for Gravity Falls.
I love the bat flying out of it.
Yeah, the spider webs.
My favorite bit about the dissonance between the world we live in today and the content of this episode is by Alex Hirsch himself in the commentary.
There used to be this thing in politics called gaffes, where a politician would say something that was like a little cruel or off color, and then they would be disqualified because we'd like to have somebody respectable to be president.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, Stan is the most gaff-proof guy in the world. So the whole episode rests on the idea that if you insult the American flag or say that you should have kids fight each other on an island, that'll get you disqualified. And after the 2016 election, it became the case that you could just be exactly like Stan and win.
Yes.
And so when this episode came out, people were kind of raw. They were just like, this is not a commentary on anything we're witnessing in our reality anymore. This is from an old universe that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah, and I would argue that, again, because it was still 2015, it was still kind of funny and, topical. But where this really came into play, I will tell you, because again, we've established these fandoms have such a big crossover. There was a Steven Universe episode called Gem Harvest, in which Steven's on the human side of his family, his uncle, his dad Greg's cousin.
I'm human on my dad's side.
Yeah, exactly.
I always tell people I'm female on my mom's side.
His uncle comes to visit, and there are jokes about him being anti-immigrant because the gems are space aliens and that sort of thing. And he is very like the conservative uncle at Thanksgiving because it's a Thanksgiving special.
You're hippies!
I heard about you on AM radio. What are you doing coming in here socializing this fine American bond?
And that aired in November of 2016, right after that thing happened. And that episode really hurt to watch.
When that episode was written, there was something harmless and fun about your conservative uncle.
That's correct. And when it aired, oh boy, it wasn't funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's a risk of whenever you're making something that will not be immediately released.
You're right. And again, it's not that episode's fault, and it's not this episode's fault. It's America's racist. Sorry.
And I mean, y'all were talking earlier about, like, I am the target demographic for this podcast for sure, of like an adult person who basically understands that Gravity Falls is convoluted, but it's got a good heart in it, but I have no idea what's going on. But I think we got to understand also the theoretical, like what you tell the executives target audience for these shows, Gravity Falls and Steven Universe, is kids. And kids can really pick up what is kind of in the cultural sort of gestalt.
Oh, absolutely.
Without having something to articulate it. And so, like, I think to show kids, like, no, here's an opaque and busted election process that doesn't make any sense and is at sometimes violent and prone to corruption.
Yeah.
Any vehicle you can get that across to them kind of would help put the pieces together.
For sure. And so this was not a Disney sanctioned thing that happened, but Alex was just kind of bored and so did a whole promotional campaign for this episode with a Stan Pines for Mayor, number 4, Twitter. And like we said, it was only following one account, at Real Donald Trump, which
it was hilarious.
It was funny at the time.
Look, if you were too young...
Actually, you know what? There are people who are too young to remember at Real Donald Trump, actually.
Honestly, yeah.
It's gone now.
All the 2-year-olds listening to your...
Yeah. In 2015, the fact that he had a Twitter where he exclusively yelled at people and otherwise talked about his campaign was really funny to us. You're just gonna have to trust us.
Remember, he had funny hair, and that was funny. Like, that was a whole thing with the hair, I think.
His hair looked weird. Do you guys remember?
His hair looked weird. You know what I remember? He was orange.
Huge? Do you remember Huge?
I remember Huge. I remember that he was orange.
Oh, listen, we just have to promise you this. You're just going to have to trust us. This is a time capsule.
This is before he ruined everything.
He was very funny to us.
Well, and I lived in California when Schwarnold got elected for governor, and I very much remember... The governor. And that election was like, wouldn't it be hilarious if Schwarnold won? And then he did, and everybody went, oh, no, you can't vote ironically. And that just happened, again in 2016.
Well, yeah, and then, Kanye.
And Ronald Reagan.
And, wouldn't it be funny if, like, the doofy son of H.W. Bush won instead of Gore?
Yeah, wouldn't it be funny if we voted the frat boy son of Reagan's vice president because we liked Reagan that much?
Oh, but he's a Yale man.
That's all the Hanging Chad's fault.
This is fun. We have fun.
We have fun here. But yeah, so on that Twitter, they linked a site. Mabel said she'd make me a website.com, which in universe is Mabel learning HTML and creating a campaign website for Stan, and it is still up. Apparently, a fan is now making sure that it stays up, and it's amazing. Please go visit it. I will link it in the description of this podcast.
And not only was there a Twitter, not only was there a website, not only was there a contest, which we'll talk about in a second, but when we first started talking to you about Gravity Falls, Molly, the song Goat and a Pig came up about 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who wrote that song?
I imagine it was... I know the Ciceriega siblings are involved in this show.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Neil Ciceriega wrote that song. Emmy Ciceriega boarded the sequence that pairs it. That was just a collaboration between the two of them. Lemon Demon is involved in a lot of aspects of the show that never get on air, other than Goat and a Pig.
Yeah, unused theme songs, that kind of thing.
And apparently wrote a campaign song for Stan during this promotional campaign.
Yeah, it's unclear if this was meant to be in the episode. I'm guessing it probably wasn't, but it is really good. And when I added this to our document of information, Charlie was like, I didn't know about this.
No, I didn't know about this. I've never heard this song. It's if you click the screen share button, it's about to play. So Ella's heard this song. I haven't. Molly, have you?
No, of course not.
Well, then let's give it a listen. Pines 2016.
Tonight we're gonna party like it's 2006 and listen to a Lemon Demon song for the first time.
I think part of the idea is also that Stan also has his eyes on the presidential campaign, which is why it's Pines 2016.
Oh, got it. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Stan's the man with a plan. Take this crummy backwoods town and make it grand.
The record distortion on the piano.
Yep.
He's electable and all that stuff. Stan, he's the man. When you cast your precious vote, just remember Stan's great quote. Vote for me. Mine truly stands the man. His platform's not a sham, so give him a hand. It will be fine.
It's like the record got melted.
We'll shine Stanley Pines. He's the candidate.
Yeah, the melted record is a joke I haven't heard played with much, but that's why you gotta love Neil.
Yeah. Just a cheap, wobbly turntable.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the Pines 2016 campaign song that y'all just heard.
Have you met Neil? No?
I sat behind him on a bus once, but I was too chicken to say hello. Yeah.
Now that's a claim to fame.
So he's one of the people you had to ride with on the commuter bus.
I disliked all the people I had to ride with on the commuter bus. If Nancy Grace and I were to meet, I would have kicked her in.
That's right, punching people all around.
In areas that we can't probably say on this podcast.
Probably not.
No, it's a medical term. You can say it.
In the uterus.
Let me know if you want to stop with the deep cuts, because I'm doing this on purpose.
I really don't know how to parry them, because I don't want to assume that anybody in your audience knows who I am.
But we know now. We've contextualized you. They can look it up on their own
That's
time.
true, yeah.
They've already paused the podcast and listened to your whole discography, I hope.
I hope.
Yeah, it's a terrible business model. You can listen to all my music for free. I don't know how I make a living doing it, but it's mostly Charlie single-handedly propping up my Patreon.
Yeah, it's mostly me.
You're one of my shareholders.
Yeah, I bought through Bandcamp, where you can listen to Same Old Song but live for free. There's also a button. There's a button that says, or you could purchase this as a CD. I am the person who clicked that button in your analytics.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure that all the podcast listeners have the opportunity to give you money as well, because they should.
If they want. I can appreciate that this song didn't make it in, but the Crime is Bad ukulele song did.
Oh, crime is bad. Crime is so bad. Vote for Bud and there ain't gonna be no crime. Crime's bad. Vote Bud.
The Crime is Bad ukulele song is fantastic, and I didn't realize there was ukulele in this episode, and I was like...
Well, what's also fascinating is when the character was pitched to Thurop Van Orman of Gideon Gleeful, it was that he's always singing and dancing. This is his whole thing. Gideon is voiced by Thurop Van Orman, who is an animator, who has certainly acted, and is a good actor, hasn't taken, performance lessons. So to get that song in his first appearance took them several hours of recording, and they just stopped writing Gideon complex songs. But Stephen Root...
Yeah, they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was possessing the character who was singing this time, so...
Possessing a character played by a trained performer.
Yeah! So
Stephen Root is great in everything I have seen him in.
I agree.
If you have not seen Barry, which is the show that Bill Hader created...
Yeah.
He plays the villain... the season 2 villain who is an ally in season 1.
Right.
It is my favorite, I know Gravity Falls is my 5th favorite thing, but that is my favorite Stephen Root performance, bar none.
Barry. Kill her. Just take her off your face. I can't. Why? Because I superglued my hands to the steering wheel.
But yeah, no, he's a consummate professional. I love hearing him again. I love hearing Thurop again.
Yeah. So that Stan Pines for Mayor Twitter also held a contest asking people to put the campaign slogan #YesWeStan in the weirdest places possible, with the winner getting a voice message from Stan. The winner was a user named Slick Nick P, who put a #YesWeStan banner on their roof.
That's a big banner.
It was very ambitious and well deserved. Well-deserved win.
Hi there! Grunkle Stan here, congratulating Slick Nick P on his winning entry into the Yes We Stand banner contest. I tell you, I don't know how you talked your parents into letting you put that giant banner on your house. Was it mind control? Maybe bribery? Hey, whatever you did, it was amazing, and I'm sure it frightened the neighbors. I tell you, that's a nice house you got, too. If the cops ever come looking for me, I'm crashing your place, Slick Nick P. Congratulations, and as always, yes, we stand! All right, cut the mic.
Now, it is mislabeled on the Gravity Falls wiki for some reason.
Great.
But it claims to have the message from Stan as his prize.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's in there somewhere, but what they do have is a message for presumably the runner-up from Quentin Tremblay.
I gotta say, I'm doing a little cross promo here, but earlier this week, I was on a podcast that my friends Alice and Laser are doing called The Best Idea of All Time.
Oh.
Where they are rewatching the movie Carol.
Is it a companion podcast to The Worst Idea of All Time? Where they rewatch?
It's inspired by, where once a week they're watching the 2015 movie Carol. By Todd Haynes.
Yes.
The lesbian period piece that has a happy ending, which is very rare for a lesbian period piece, as you know.
Oh, I have not heard of that.
Oh, it's what, Carol or The Best Idea of All Time?
I have not heard of a lesbian period piece with a happy ending.
Oh yeah, it's got Cate Blanchett. I mean, come on.
Oh, the Cate Blanchett.
We did a Cate Blanchett impression last episode.
We did.
Both of us.
You're manifesting all of this.
We are.
So on this podcast, they have Alice is collecting all of the props she can from the movie Carol. Laser has read the book. They are so in the weeds. They are interviewing people from like the town where Carol was shot. And I found the Zillow listing of the locations and everything. And in spite of all that, this is even deeper in the weeds. I didn't expect I would get further into the weeds of something than I did earlier this week, but now here I am.
Well,
yeah, here we are.
So here is what we believe to be the runner-up's prize, that is mislabeled as the winner's prize on the Gravity Falls wiki, which is why we are the #1 source for Gravity Falls trivia.
Suck it, Gravity Falls wiki. No, I'm just kidding. We love y'all.
We have some friends there.
Yeah.
All right.
Greetings, it is I, former 8.5 President of the United States, Quentin Tremblay. I've come out from hiding in my Armageddon bunker hidden deep within the woods to congratulate Ella on her amazing entry. Using sewing, she sewed the image onto a sweater, like some sort of Navajo woman. With my political powers, I not only congratulate you on your victory, but also promote you. You are hereby the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America. I've decided you're qualified. Don't try to talk me out of it. You'll be receiving your briefings in the morning. And speaking of briefings, it's time to remove my pants! Lady Liberty congratulates her, as do I. Congratulations, Anna. Tremblay, away!
Oh, that Tremblay.
One of the rare moments of history where Alex Hirsch had free time.
Yeah. So the logo on the site, which again, the site is just the best of like early aughts HTML Flash website creation. There's music on every page. The background is a looping image pattern. It's fantastic. And the logo of Pines 2016 seems to be modeled after Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign logo.
Possibly Jeb.
Yeah, yeah. Please clap. Please jam your hands together. Yeah, so again, it was a simpler time, and I understand if looking up the Bernie logo makes anyone sad, because it made me sad.
My favorite Jeb story is actually technically a Gravity Falls story.
Oh?
Go on.
Jason Ritter, who voices Dipper, played Jeb in the movie W. To get my Dipper voice down, I've listened to probably every interview with him, and this is such a good one where he only has like 2 lines in W, but he did a lot of research into the role because it's fun to be in a biopic.
Yeah.
And the interview he found that showed him who Jeb was Jeb and George W. were being interviewed together, and George goes, I mean, I never even wanted to be president. And then Jeb goes, I did. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's right, he did.
Pretty
and
sad.
Jason was like, all right, that's who Jeb is. That is how I perform this.
Yeah, absolutely. The title of this episode, The Stanchurian Candidate, is too specific not to be a reference, frankly. It is a reference to the film The Manchurian Candidate, which is a film about Cold War-era sleeper agents, so they have that brainwashing plot thread in common. So it isn't random, they did actually think about what they're doing for the title of this episode.
Yeah, they came up with justification after they picked the title, just like us being like, see, it's the ukulele one.
Well, it's certainly my nibblings would not catch that reference, but, it's these sort of layered, multi-generational things.
Well, you just gotta get them cultured. You're showing, all right, we're watching a 1960s political thriller now, kids.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world.
Adventure Time came out and they went, we've been taking kids for granted. Kids are smart, apparently.
That's true.
People constantly were like to me, how do you know about that? And I'm like, because watching things that are old means watching them on YouTube, which means free. Watching things that are new, which means going to a movie theater, which means spending money. So poor people in the internet era are more likely to have heard of old things than new things.
When people asked me that question as a kid, the answer was usually Simpsons.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Simpsons.
Yes? Yes, segue that I planted?
You did that on purpose. I recognize it, and I'm proud of it. So it had been a thread they had been trying to work up to for a while that Gideon was going to run for mayor, to the extent that that's probably why he always has an American flag pin on him.
Well, yeah, it's also just the Colonel Sanders-ness of him.
Yes, and so when they got to the season finale, they got to a place in the plot where it made most sense to send him to prison. And they're like, well, that puts a hold on that. And one day, Alex said, wait, why can't he just run from prison? And Josh Weinstein, staff writer on Gravity Falls and showrunner on season, what was it?
7 and 8?
7 and 8 of The Simpsons says, I'll tell you why we can't do an episode about someone running for mayor while in prison, because I already wrote that.
The episode is called Sideshow Bob Roberts. It is the 5th episode of season 6, and it's about Sideshow Bob getting out of prison and running for mayor.
Because you need me, Springfield. Your guilty conscience may force you to vote Democratic, but deep down inside you secretly long for a cold-hearted Republican to lower taxes, brutalize criminals, and rule you like a king. That's why I did this, to protect you from yourselves. Now, if you don't mind, I have a city to run.
Bailiffs, place the mayor under arrest.
What? Oh, yes. All that stuff I did.
It's a really good episode.
I just watched it, I think, potentially for the first time. I mean, every Sideshow Bob reference I've absorbed through cultural osmosis, because those were the big, Sideshow Bob's coming back tonight! Mark your calendars!
Remember when people marked their calendars for Simpsons episodes?
Yes, because it happened once recently.
That's true. We'll get to it way later in this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Josh Weinstein was the primary writer attached to this episode, possibly just to make sure they didn't retread territory.
And he wrote on that particular episode of The Simpsons, yes.
He wrote that episode, yeah. So, he has now written 2 separate scripts about a prisoner running for mayor.
Yeah, and even so, it has that Simpson-y energy that we said about the episode The Love God, where it's like a big town event, all these wacky citizens of this wacky town are doing a big event, and it's all, whole wacky cast of characters, kind of an ensemble piece.
I'll tell you the extent to which it is a Simpsons-y episode. The Hugh Jass joke just gets 100% reused.
Oh yeah, you know what, actually? So in this episode, we finally, after all those weeks of waiting and theorizing and speculating, we get an answer as to who the enigmatic Tad Strange is. He is just a guy.
Just the most normal guy in town. Molly, if you do not know the absolute trash fire that happened at the Gravity Falls fandom from the moment that Welcome to Night Vale star Cecil Baldwin accidentally updated his resume before the non-disclosure agreement said to this episode airing, we actually talked about it already in an episode, so I don't need to explain it.
Essentially, what happened here, right before the day of the AMA, Reddit user SonicYay2 posted a link to the online resume of Cecil Baldwin, the host of Welcome to Night Vale, which is a
news station hosted by a character Cecil plays called Cecil Palmer, and it takes place in sort of like an alternate reality, but it's just news. And that's the joke.
A link was posted to Cecil's online resume with the headline, Cecil Baldwin voice acting as someone called Tad Strange in a future episode, because on the resume it listed Gravity Falls, Tad Strange. After this was detected, it was then removed, and this being the Gravity Falls fandom where everything clearly has a master plan and intention, or at least it is impossible to tell when things are just happening and when things are intentional and leading to something.
The question is, why is the voice of Cecil Palmer on Gravity Falls? Who is Tad Strange, and why is he no longer on Cecil's resume? And that was what people were wondering about, and someone, specifically, Reddit user Tuxisme, thought the Bill Cipher AMA was the chance to get any information before this character finally showed up. If they did show up, this could have been a prank. No one knew what was going on. So Tuxisme asked, "Hey Bill, what can you tell us about a guy named Tad Strange?" Bill responds, "Tad's a real square, and that is an objectively stupid shape."
The user, Trainer Cat Lady, then responded in the thread suggesting, "I just had a thought. What if Tad is literally a square? What if Tad Strange is like a computer?" But then that kind of snowballed into, okay, Bill is a triangle demon, so Tad Strange maybe is a square demon.
And they gave him a little bowler hat, because it is an equally fancy British hat, but not the top hat.
Mm-hmm.
And he is depicted as purple, which the very
the
specific
color of
shade of
Night Vale.
Yeah, the very specific hue that is used in all the logos for the podcast.
But it's also on a color wheel, the opposite of yellow. And
That's correct.
Along with Bill's response to they asked him, "Do you have any family?" And he said, "Not anymore." So along with the twist that Grunkle Stan has a secret brother, maybe there's a parallel and that this is a brother of Bill Cipher.
So, Molly, if you take to Google Images right this second and look up Tad Strange,
I will.
You will find very few pictures of a man holding bread in a Mormon outfit, and predominantly a square with a bowler hat, a purple square.
He usually has a necktie instead of a bow tie. Yeah.
I'm getting a good mix of both, honestly.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I'm getting some kind of smexy anime versions of him. I'm getting... a plush, at least one plush.
Well, that's good. That's the fandom has changed since the early days.
Well, that's just turn safe search on.
So what had actually happened was Josh Weinstein wrote the very Simpsons-y joke of there being one guy in Gravity Falls named Tad Strange who is totally normal despite being named Tad Strange and living in Gravity Falls. And that's the entirety of the joke.
He's excessively normal. He loves bread.
Hi, guys. Tad's the name, and being normal's my game.
Loving you, Tad.
And I love bread.
The reason Cecil was cast was not because he's good at being creepy, but because he's good at being calm.
He has a boring-sounding voice.
Aggressively normal.
Yeah.
To this day, people are like, so what was really going on with Tad Strange to Alex Hirsch? To which he has to say, he likes bread. I don't know.
I mean, the problem is that Alex eroded any trust that the fans had in him with the McGucket hoax.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
The short of it is it's a red herring to see who the author of the journals is.
Yeah, so the fans figured out that Stan had a brother who had gone missing, who was the author of the journals, and they thought that was subtle enough that they didn't need to come up with a red herring. So then they rushed to do one, and then they're like, okay, let's establish in season 2 that McGucket is the author's assistant, and between season 1 and 2, let's put up a fake leak of McGucket writing the journal.
They leaked it to 4chan, quickly deleted it, enough time for it to spread.
And then Alex tweeted, I'm so mad right now, and then deleted it right after the 4chan leak.
Wow. That's masterful.
So no one trusted him. So then this is his experience.
All right, I will once and for all clear up all this Tad Strange confusion. For those of you who are familiar with the Tad Strange confusion. So every now and then, like a fan idea will emerge that is so powerful that people love so much that they will start to treat it like it's really the show, and then they'll be like, Alex, why isn't that in the show? And I'm like, because you guys made it up. I've never heard of this before. What is this? A perfect example, probably the most quintessential, and it's actually kind of fascinating to watch. It's like watching something evolve in real time before your eyes. A folktale become real. We in the most recent episode that aired, Stanchurian Candidate, there was a little joke by one of our writers, a brilliant guy named Josh Weinstein. He wrote on The Simpsons, some of the best episodes of The Simpsons ever. And his draft, he turned in an episode where there's a line, there's a mayor election, and Sue says, it's not like we have a lot of good mayor options. Everyone in this town is a Tad Strange, except, ironically, Tad Strange. And he gestures to the most normal-looking guy you've ever seen. He says, hi guys, Tad's the name, and being normal's my game. Just a weird little joke, just a random, throwaway, nothing joke. and we needed to cast the character, and I thought, oh, well, that'd be funny if we got the guy from Night Vale. There's this podcast called Night Vale, and this dude Cecil Baldwin voices it. He's just got this normal modulated voice as he talks about spiders under your skin and in your eyes. And I was like, he's the perfect guy to get for this. We brought him in. He said, thank you so much for letting me do this. I'm like, hey, get in the booth, let's do it. And he did great, and on the way out, we said, and don't forget, this is a top secret, don't mention to anyone else that you were on the Disney Channel. He's like, I would never. And then went right to his online resume and said, Tad Strange, Gravity Falls. On his online resume, months, I'd say like 5 months before the episode aired, and fans saw that name, Tad Strange, and they said, Tad Strange, who's this, a new character, what could he look like? All right, everybody, let's put our heads together. Maybe he's, what do we like most? We like Bill, there's not enough Bill, okay. How can there be more Bill? What if Bill had a brother? Yeah, now we're cooking. Bill's a triangle. What if this guy was a square? What if he was purple? That's the opposite color of yellow. They're complementary. Okay, well, we love Doctor Who, so just give him a bowler hat or something, I don't know. Make him as much like Doctor Who or Jack Skellington as possible, because that's what we do. And so then I wake up one morning to just the Tad Strange tag has blown up, and there are people dressed as a purple rectangle with a bowler hat, and there's all this fan fiction. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And people are tweeting me like, yo, what's the secret truth about Tad Strange? I know about Tad Strange. Is he the main character? Is he the main villain? Have you been teasing this the whole time? I'm like, where am I? What's going on? And so I tried to take to the internet. I was like, guys, look, real talk. Tad Strange is just a random one-off character. He says nothing to do. Like, yeah, I can't fall for that. Tad Strange is probably the main character. Oh my God, is Dipper's real name Tad Strange? I'm like, no, it literally, you guys made all of this up. It has nothing to do with me. They're like, yeah, Mr. Troll, Mr. Trickster, we're not going to believe you. You say no, it means yes. We can't wait for Tad Strange. And so, the day the episode airs, 5 months later, hi guys, Tad's the name, being normal's my game. I heard the voice of 1,000 fans scream and then immediately be silenced. And received a tidal wave of, what was that? It changed it up just to mess with us. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. These episodes take a year to make. I can't change anything based on any of your reactions. They're like, oh yeah, we know he's secretly a demon though. We know you got us. So, I mean, that's the honest truth about Tad Strange. No one's gonna believe me. Y'all probably think Tad Strange is still a secret purple demon. Yes. Maybe he is. No, he's not. Why would I? It has nothing to do with me. It came from you. It came from you crazy people. I love it though. I love everyone's imaginations, and I love how much people build their own love of the show into the mythology of the show, but I can't keep up with it. Like I said, these episodes take from concept to final animation a year to make. We do them all on top of each other, so there isn't a year between episodes. But they take a long time. So if somebody sends me a message, it's like, hey, next episode has to have Pacifica, but she's 200 feet tall. Am I going to see it next time? It's like, you had to tell me a year ago if you wanted that. It's too late. Anyway, that's a short history, a short, brief, Tad Strange history of Tad Strange for you, Dipper. Now you know the truth. Spread it. No one will listen. No one will listen.
So that's the long and short of Tad Strange.
That is mostly the long of Tad Strange, I would say. What I saw in that clip that you showed me was an exhausted man whose vision got out of hand,
My favorite part about that clip, and this is something I wanted to say, is that he doesn't know he perpetrated it. He does not remember the Bill Cipher AMA was at midnight his time, and Tad's a real square is 5 words.
It's the foundation of a lot of the character designs and the theories.
So he keeps saying, I did nothing to perpetuate this. This was all you guys. He just doesn't remember.
You poked the bear, Alex. You poked the multi-bear.
You made a pun. That's a real square, and that's a bad shape to be.
Okay, but so... You know how, maybe 2 hours ago, you recognized that quoting someone's exact words back at them could potentially be confusing, and that they might not remember having said them or it having the connotations.
That's also true.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
That's also what I'm saying, is there is no freaking way Alex remembered saying that.
Well, you know why
and there's no way that he meant for it to turn into what it did.
Of course not. But you know why he doesn't remember? That was Bill.
That wasn't Alex. That wasn't Alex AMA.
Bill was using his body to do a Reddit AMA. But yes.
So Alex had nothing to do with fanning the flames of this Tad Strange.
Bill stoked the chaos.
That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
Bill's like, there's chaos going on. Let me in. I want in. Wait, hey.
It'd be like if he said, Tad is just a regular guy, then the fandom could have been like, he's like Guy Fawkes, and then it would have been all like anonymous masks.
Oh, so he has a healthy colon?
Irregular.
I mean, he definitely does. He eats so much bread. There's no way, unless it's like whole wheat and high.
Well, unless he has celiacs in his diet.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if he eats bread or if he just kind of appreciates bread aesthetically.
Yeah. He likes bread.
I love bread.
Just his house is made of bread, like an old witch in the forest.
Well, people who live in bread houses shouldn't throw seeds.
Oh, I was about to say shouldn't throw ducks.
But they threw seeds.
It's true, they did throw seeds. I love that
Have you ever
bit.
thrown a duck, though? It's so fun.
Animal abuse!
The thing is about it...
No, well, the thing is...
No, I know. I knew what I was about to say. Bill, for once, wasn't lying. Tad is a real square, but people took it literally instead of metaphorically.
Well, it's because he added the pun. And that's the
You're
worst
right.
shape you could be.
No, but I feel like people still would have read into it because that's what they do.
I know, but that's the worst shape you could be was the linchpin of this.
That's one of the sort of linchpins of like, I don't want to say toxic fandom, but that kind of ravenous level of fandom is taking the text of something literally.
Yeah.
Like the most literal that you can take it.
Yeah, there's this one fandom that their whole thing is taking text literally. I'm blanking out in the moment who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but I mean, all I'm trying to say on this podcast, right, is that the dinosaurs were 7,000 years ago. And our Lord and Savior rode around on their back. So I'm thank you guys for giving me this platform.
Oh no, Molly Lewis I knew everything about Molly Lewis except that she was a Mormon. How is this possible?
Look, anytime you want to talk about the galaxy of TGAC, you can come on and we can talk about it.
It's really a sin that Tom of MySpace gave money to SpaceX because we all know the Earth is a disk.
Yeah, what's the
don't need rockets.
Okay. Yeah.
Just need really fast cars.
Wait, slow down, because Molly took Mormons, Ella took Scientologists, Molly took Flat Earth, and I'm like, I want to play in the space, but I'm running out. Oh, I got it. This episode features some pretty terrible presidential candidates. Not like my man, the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy Jr.
Oh, yeah. Yo, he's coming back tonight. We're going to have him on our next podcast.
Oh, awesome. The president.
JFKJ is a big get.
JFKJ.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the president, Molly.
He's the always and forever president. And when he shows up, we're going to talk about Gravity Falls with him because I love Gravity Falls.
I'm just going to tell him I loved him in Seinfeld, personally.
Yeah.
JFK Jr. sits in front of me. It's a good episode.
So Grunkle Stan in this episode openly commits voter fraud.
Yes.
And voter fraud became something of a well, I was gonna say hot button issue, but every freaking issue is a hot button issue these days. I hate society. In the most recent presidential election at this point in 2022, there was kind of I would call it a kerfuffle. I would call it a hootenanny,
a skirmish. Bit of a skirmish.
Bit of a scrap.
To put it in the words of the episode, a gosh heck huckleberry honeysuckle darn it.
God honeysuckle darn it.
Gosh heck huckleberry honeysuckle darn it.
Language.
So it turns out that there's a common strategy when you lose at something to just go, no, I didn't. I won, actually. And everyone just assumed that it's never worked.
Sometimes it works, though.
Incredibly well.
Everybody knew that kid on the playground where you were trying to play, Transformers or whatever it is. You're sort of...
No, I have a force field and I'm invincible.
My hands are made of guns and I can't die. I'm unkillable and my organs are made out of metal.
And that's a direct quote from Donald Trump.
Yeah, so it turns out if you lose the election, you could just say, that's why there's all this voter fraud, that's what did it. And so Rudy Giuliani, close personal friend of Donald Trump.
His personal lawyer, I guess. Or...
Has he been on the show? Have you had him on the show yet?
Well, yeah, we talked about him.
Ella, that was the movie Rudy.
Oh. So he's not the football player.
No, this is actually...
Oh, you mean the former mayor of New York?
The former mayor of New York started a voter fraud hotline. And Alex Hirsch weaponized his fan base against it and got it shut down within a day.
Good night.
And he recorded 2 phone calls that he made to the voter fraud hotline, which we will play now.
Yeah, I'd like to report an incident of voter fraud.
Oh, I've heard these.
Yeah, so I committed some voter fraud. I'm very proud of it, and I'd like to tell Mr. Rudy Giuliani about it.
Great. Awesome.
My name is Stan Pines, Pinees. You got that down?
Yeah.
She sounds so tired.
I went in there, and I had a big old sack, and I just started taking ballots out of the box. And I didn't even try to hide it. I waved to the crowd. I blew them kisses. And, I think I'm kind of a local hero. And I'd like Rudy to give me a medal or something. She hung up on me.
She hung up on me.
And the other one, which again, we're just gonna play both the clips.
But that one was more relevant to the episode because it was like he's committing voter fraud right now because he's a gentleman thief.
Yes,
he does voter frauds for the people.
This is a hotline to report incidents of voter fraud.
Okay, yeah, I saw what I believe is a voter fraud situation.
Okay, please describe it for me.
So I saw a man. He walked into this building. And he was wearing black. He had a black hat, black mask, a striped shirt, and a red tie. And I believe there were hamburgers in his bag. And he was saying "robble, robble" as he was exiting the building, like a burglar. I think he's probably Antifa. Can I speak to Rudy Giuliani?
So the original tweet on November 6th, 2020. He quote retweets the original tweet by Rudy Giuliani advertising #Stop the Steal, report a case, and then the phone number. And Alex Hirsch quotes retweets it and says, I don't want to tell anyone what to do, but if you felt like calling this number and, say, reporting the Hamburglar, I can confirm from personal experience that it would be pretty funny. And then he replies with his webcam, his phone camera recording Audacity with the audio of the Seuss call. And so that original tweet from Alex has 26,000 likes, which is to say 26,000 people that night. They didn't be like, I'll do it when I'm off work on Friday. That night, 26,000 people crank called the voter fraud hotline, and it was shut down in the morning.
They had no idea what they were getting into, these voter fraud people.
Yep. So that's Grunkle Stan's second contribution to the world of voter fraud. First being this episode.
Yeah, an experienced fraudster.
Of course.
Getting it on the record in several mediums, yeah.
So Alex Hirsch, up until this point throughout season 2, had teased that a character would not survive the season. And unfortunately, I'm so sorry to say it, but reclusive 102-year-old mayor of Gravity Falls, Eustace Huckabone Befuftelfumter, is no longer with us.
RIP. Press F.
Now, of course, there was a lot of debate over, like, that couldn't have been it, right? If
Does
he
that
said,
count? Yeah.
yes, someone died, he would have responded,
This was foreshadowed by a secret cryptogram in the book Dipper and Mabel's Guide to Mystery and Nonstop Fun. There was a code that read, "The mayor of Gravity Falls is not long for this world." And that was before we even knew who the mayor was. And then, of course, when he appears, they establish he is... It's kind of like they knew that a certain percentage of the fandom will have decoded this from this book by the introduction of the mayor. So they just have as many, like, teases for him dying as possible. He's 102. He sees the ghost at the Northwest Mansion and he says, the Grim Reaper, I was wondering when you would arrive. And like they're just at this point they're just like, we might do it. And then like I remember thinking that when the entire town flipped over in Not What He Seems that they would reveal that killed him, but nope, it was just some random day. He just died. He actually survived. We saw him in Dungeons and More Dungeons commence rebuilding the town. So he survived that. Just a random day. He just croaked.
It's amazing that he survived that many eagle peckings, through all his incumbencies. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that is to assume that someone ran against him. He only had to get pecked by an eagle once if he ran unopposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody just kind of holds on to their seat.
I'm sure he was beloved. I mean, he seems delightful.
Unless there's some sort of Tammany Hall situation, you know. Gravity Hall.
Yeah.
Or Tammany Falls, who knows?
And there was another code in that very same book that also foreshadowed part of this episode, namely, Bud Gleeful wants to run for mayor. We do get the return of Bud and Gideon Gleeful, as we said earlier in the episode, and I missed Gideon. I missed that little menace.
Gideon, Ella doesn't believe me when I last said Gideon is Ella's favorite character.
I believe it now. I understand.
Is he? And I said, okay, if you were editing this podcast, you would know. Because every time Gideon shows up for even a second, you're like, and then,
the chosen one.
I get real excited when I see his awful little body and hair.
What was the descriptor they gave him to describe Bud's behavior? It was
creepily adorable. Yeah.
Creepily adorable.
Very apt, very. And, like, this is, like, the longest time we'd gone without seeing him. I think the last time we saw him was the first episode of season 2, and he didn't even have any lines.
Right, so he hadn't talked since the TV shorts, which aired between seasons.
Yeah. But now he's back, and he is the secret campaign manager of Bud's campaign. And
from prison, but not in a Sideshow Bob way.
No, he doesn't step on any rakes.
My favorite character is Tyler Cute Biker, just for the record.
Yeah. Cute Biker. So, his name was Cute Biker in the script until Tyler Chen was boarding a scene with him, and they just thought it would be funny. Let's call him Tyler. So this is the episode that reveals his full name is Tyler Cute Biker. So when they were writing Cute Biker instead of Tyler in the script, that was just his surname.
So Tyler Cutebiker, as we now know him, becomes the mayor, and he deserves it, frankly. He's the only one who filled out his paperwork, and he didn't possess anybody, as Gideon and Dipper and Mabel did in this episode.
No, yeah, he did. He is the only person who did not cheat for this position.
That is true, and you know what? That is a product of a simpler time, thinking that the most honest candidate would end up winning, but, you know, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
He's got bipartisan appeal, yeah.
And bisexual appeal. Look at those boots.
That is true. I mean,
know, them cams.
Tyler Cutebiker is voiced by Will Forte. In the majority of season 1, only has one line that he just comes in and re-records. Get him! Get him! Get him! There were so many other attempts to get Will Forte, because it was never, let's cast Will Forte as this character. It's, if we can get Will Forte to do additional voices, that would be amazing. So the understanding was that every once in a while, a character of the day would show up voiced like he would be there. He was supposed to be the Albert Brooks of Gravity Falls, but he just couldn't pull any of these characters off. They tried to get him as pool check, and it just couldn't work. So I think the decision at some point also must have been, let's take his background character and make them important to the show.
Yeah, because he had a few extended bits in season 1 and parts of early season 2, but here we he's important now. I mean, he was always important to me, but
he is now the owner of this character that only has 2 lines, but is the only.
Clearly, he's the heart and soul of the whole town.
He is.
Well, he is the town. He is the town. He's the representative of Gravity Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Because he has great policies on, like, education, get it, prosperity, get it. I approve of all his policies.
And that line was written by Josh Weinstein without them having to be like, by the way, this is his catchphrase, because he sent in a spec script because he was a legitimate fan of the show, so could make references to earlier episodes like that.
And I bet knowing that a Simpsons writer is a big fan of the show was probably...
I mean, the Simpsons writer that wrote Who Shot Mr. Burns, which Alex has stated is the source material of Gravity Falls.
True.
He has described Gravity Falls as, what if Who Shot Mr. Burns was 40 episodes long?
Yeah. So Gideon, when he decides that the campaign isn't going his way, decides to just straight up possess his own father in a very disturbing sequence. And that's where they do, like, one of their act breaks. I'm like, ooh-wee.
There's a lot of possession in this episode.
I am so strong. Watch me eat this pine cone.
What I meant to say was, you ladies all look great. Girl, you are working it.
Boy, not that. Anything but that.
And it's implied that all of it is painful and deeply mentally disturbing.
Yeah.
Except you recall that when Stan was not able to swear, he noticed and didn't seem to care at all. So Stan's possession doesn't really seem to bother him that much.
But when they tested it on Seuss, yeah.
Seuss freaked out.
Like, where does your brain go when you get possessed? Wherever it goes, it's not pleasant.
Do you think there's a chance that an early prototype of the tie that Ford used to get Reagan elected, and then he off for the rest of the 80s and didn't get to see the aftermath. Do you think there's a chance that an early prototype of that was maybe in high school and he tested it on Stan, and that's why he's so blasé about being possessed?
Oh, that's a good theory. You're getting a little conspiratorial for my taste for this room.
Excuse me.
But
Sorry.
yes, Ford, while Gideon possesses his father via magic, Dipper and Mabel possess Stan to get him to say the right things via a mind control tie that Grunkle Ford made for, quote, Ronald Reagan's masters, which is the most inside job, the Netflix show, that this show has gotten.
Well, and there was a lot of talk of that, because he was a very evil man who was also senile. So people are like, is he a puppet? Is he actually... And the conversation happened with Dick Cheney controlling George W., and I think where we are now with politics is that there's no such thing as a wholesome politician. Like, you get into this business because you are a wicked person deep down.
Who was that? Who was the person that you were listening to who talked about all the presidents?
Oh, that is, it was a former Cracked columnist. His name is Daniel the Manual O'Lion the Brian, or Daniel O'Brien for short, who used to, he wrote a book called How to Fight Presidents that did get him on a don't fly list, which is why he is now working in New York City on Last Week Tonight, a few miles from his home in New Jersey.
Oh, you mean the show where they just blackmailed a bunch of politicians?
I mean, yes, because they hire writers who are still on the don't fly list.
Oh, good, you're already on the no fly list. Let's get you to write this episode.
Yeah, so he had a political science teacher in college who said that I haven't met any of my students, but I can say one thing. None of you will be the president of the United States.
Look to your left. Now look to your right. Neither of those people will be president, and neither will you.
He was just so offended by, like, you don't even know me, you don't know what I'm capable of, that he decided that he would become the world's foremost expert on presidential trivia. Because if being presidential meant something, if there was a type of person that could become president, then that is something he could research, because there were enough.
What is the president gene?
Now, it turns out it's megalomania. What he found out is like, oh, these people are all nuts. I am afraid of things. I can't do this.
Yes, the quote that stuck with me is like, in order for anyone to be president, they have to be at least a little bit megalomaniacal.
I think that's not the exact quote, but it's something like that. Presidents are crazy. And Ronald Reagan, did he have Alzheimer's? Yes. Was George Bush a frat boy who didn't want to be president? Yes. Are they good people? No.
Quentin Tremblay is honestly the most normal president.
Quentin Tremblay, yes. Quentin Tremblay, the 8th and a half president of the United States, who was so weird that he was removed from office, is by far, because Lyndon Johnson used to talk about Jumbo a lot.
Yes. Jumbo is something that we can't say what it is on this podcast.
No, I can't contextualize Jumbo, but there is a call that that Lyndon Johnson made to his tailor, just making sure he understood how the pants need to be fitted and why. And the tailor was like, yes, I get it. Can we talk about something? He's like, no, but...
And of course, if you know about Nancy Reagan, but that's neither here nor there. And what gets me about the line is just the way he very casually says Ronald Reagan's masters. Oh, his handlers, it's like everybody, like, obviously, like, he's not saying like, oh, did you know that this guy was actually being controlled? He was like, no, obviously.
Dipper's a smart
he doesn't
kid.
have to talk down to this kid. He's like, the handlers.
Ronald Reagan's masters.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan's masters.
The best version of why is Ronald Reagan like that and how does it relate to his politics is actually from SNL, where they do that. He puts on that act when he's in front of people and is just like a drill sergeant the second the door's shut. That was Phil Hartman. It was so funny.
Phil Hartman was a genius, though.
Yes.
So, we end the episode. Gideon has been defeated by the Pines and by Tyler Keepiker. And in the end tag, he takes off a hold on to that branch or die cat poster to reveal, it's the wheel that Bill is in the center of from the opening, and he says,
I'm finally ready to make a deal.
And what does that mean? Well, people had theories, people had conspiracies even. So why don't we head on over into the Hall of Conspiracies?
Molly, we have a hallway/segment of this podcast/museum.
Oh, behind the dong dong. Oh, I just opened.
Ladies and gentlemen, right this way to the Hall of Conspiracy.
Ella, you need to check our security systems a little better.
Oh.
People should not be able to just open the Hall of Conspiracies.
I'm guessing the podcast machine probably messed up again.
If you spend a certain amount of money in the gift shop, then you get free entry to the Hall of Conspiracies.
That's not a bad idea.
Molly, because you changed my life, no hyperbole, you get free entry regardless.
Yeah!
Oh, yay! Season pass, baby!
So, the possession incantation that Gideon uses to take control of Bud is a backwards message, and when you play it backwards, it is...
Spooky evil smells! Spooky smells! Spooky smells!
I love that.
The Star Maker on Tumblr posted, headcanon. Grunkle Stan knew that Gideon wasn't psychic from the moment he called him Stanford.
Now, this does not directly relate to this episode. I put that in there because this is the return of Gideon after we know that Stanford is not his name. And Gideon exclusively has referred to him as Stanford. And I thought that was genius the first time I read that. I was like,
oh, yeah.
That was a joke I had in the What Probably Happens in, where he says, it's Stanley, and he goes, no, it's not.
Right, because Stan, we haven't seen his interaction with the town before this episode after his brother returned. And now we know he is not out, per se, as Stanley Pines. The town still knows him as Stanford, and the real Stanford remains in the basement of the Mystery Shack, just doing science stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a really interesting, obviously Grunkle Stan knows how to spot a fake, because he is a fake, but also, Gideon is constantly calling him Stanford to get under his skin, and Stan is like, yeah, that doesn't bother me, because, that's not my name. So, Magnus Avi on the subreddit posted,
hey, it's been a bit! We've had theories for Magnus Avi at the beginning of the podcast.
Really? I did not remember that.
Yeah!
Huh.
Oh my god.
Posted a minor observation. The mayor was 102 years old, so that means he was born circa 1910. The news report said that he may have possibly caused World War I, which started in 1914. That's one hell of a feat for a 4-year-old. And Kilo Ku responded, when you're raised by bears, anything is possible.
So are we saying that he mauled Franz Duke Ferdinand?
As a 4-year-old, yes.
He was the bullet that came out of the gun.
He was a really small baby.
Tiny little baby.
He was a bullet-sized baby.
Yeah.
They made guns bigger back then.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
They took live ammunition very seriously back in the day.
It was extra live.
Recently.
Do you want to read this next one, Molly? I just put it in the Discord chat.
So this one's from Emeralda on Tumblr. It contains a screenshot from the episode of Is the Stanford I'm looking at?
Yeah.
This is great uncle we're looking at, screwing in a light bulb.
It's a zaddy, to quote your words.
He is a zaddy, as we said.
Don't be hyperbolic. He's an uncle. I don't know about great.
No, this is something I noticed in the episode. There's Grunkle Stan and there's Great Uncle Ford.
Because I feel like Ford is probably like, that is not a word. That is a very silly word. You will not refer
Mabel called him Great Uncle. I noticed that specifically.
Yeah, so it's because when there's fake words like that, it usually comes from you struggling to pronounce their title as an infant, like calling your grandma Gam Gam or whatever. Or I called my sister Raro instead of Rachel. So this is probably a 12-year-old nickname that...
But did they know him as they were babies? I thought they just came up in the recently.
Yes, they did. It's not really a spoiler.
I don't remember where I saw this, but I know that
it's in the 3DS game.
There's a 3DS game?
Yes. I don't know if this is canon or a headcanon or something that Alex said, but I think the reason that they call him Grunkle is because Stan has said, like, It saves time. Time is money. Call me Grunkle. So Ford, meanwhile, would be like, no, that sounds ridiculous. You will not call me that. You will call me Great Uncle.
So we're looking at Great Uncle Ford. Which one's this? This is Ford?
Yeah.
Screwing in a light bulb. We got Suze and the twins with their long shadows. The caption says, why didn't Stanford run for mayor? Well, according to Sheriff Blubbs, the first prerequisite for candidacy is being able to cast a shadow. And conspicuously, Great Uncle Ford does not have a shadow in this photo.
Despite being directly under a light bulb, which would be the prime place, I would say.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, there's shade around his personage.
But you have to cast a shadow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But he's like a time travel anomaly of some kind anyhow, right? Didn't he emerge from a portal? I haven't seen the show or listened to the podcast in a while.
Yeah, he was in a couple other dimensions. Maybe
Yeah, maybe his shadow's in some other dimension.
Maybe he went to Neverland at some point. That is an alternate dimension.
I was going to say, maybe his shadow left him Peter Pan style.
Yeah, they stopped at Neverland,
Right.
and him and his shadow had like a discussion, and they realized that this just...
Get that man some soap.
It just wasn't working out. They were like, look, we've been together this long. Are you serious? And his shadow was like, I'm sorry, Stanford.
I think we should see other light sources.
Dan105, the 105th Dan we have discussed on this podcast so far, I'm assuming, from the subreddit, says, I have just posted this on the reaction thread, but here goes. After seeing the new promo, here are some new thoughts on Ford. To delve into the idea that he's actually a villain. I'm rather suspicious of his interactions with Dipper. I think he's doing some classic divide and conquer between Dipper and Mabel. He's trying to turn Dipper against Mabel and Stan and sees him as an ideal pawn/servant for his ulterior motives.
This from Reddit user Lunyon. The cipher wheel Gideon drew is changed. The hand is gone and Dipper's place is switched with Stanford's glasses, the same as Mabel's star and Stanley's fez. Either it's a huge foreshadowing or Gideon remembered wrong. ...
The cipher wheel that he drew on his prison wall has these symbols are slightly changed in a different order than we usually see it in the theme song.
That's the tricky thing with a show like this that is so attentive to detail, is when those details are off, then it's...
Exactly. When does it matter?
Yeah.
And also, when you're like, uh-oh, that detail is going to get the fans theorizing, but this other revision we need from Korea... Mabel has no eyes, so unfortunately, budgets are budgets.
Time and budget, yep.
President DSG responds, quoting, the hand has also been made into a journal, and he responds in the voice that all presidents have. He could have drawn it differently based upon memory, or what was important to him. I get the feeling that matching the image exactly doesn't matter, just that it gets close enough to summon the demon. Also, Gideon has mad chalking skills to get details though small and precise on the wall using chalk. That's big.
And Random Snark responds to the president.
Randomly snarky, of course.
Yeah. Quoting the point about matching the image exactly, maybe it doesn't matter. They say, what if every time we've seen the summoning wheel, it's only been a rough representation of what it's supposed to be? What if the real summoning circle is formed using the things themselves instead of their two-dimensional representations? Maybe the reason Bill appears as two-dimensional shape is that he's been summoned with only images instead of real entities. I wonder how he might appear if all the characters stood in their assigned places. And then about the mad chalking skills, they say, pro tip, use the corner or edge of the chalk to draw really finely.
So, Molly.
Yes.
Do you know about the cryptograms?
Of course not. I know the sort of hash at the end of the episode, you mean? That sort of letter hash? Yeah, I know what a cryptogram is. Yeah.
So that is known as the credits cryptogram.
Okay. Are there multiple then?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're about to blow my mind, Charlie? Okay.
So the current credits cryptogram is, of course, in Key Visionaire, as you know.
Well, the Visionaire cipher, yeah.
Yes, of course. Which means you have to look for a key symbol somewhere in the episode. Of course, Molly knew this.
I did know this.
Yes, of course. Everyone knows this. And the key, in the upper left corner of a Gravity Falls Gossiper newspaper article, I'm sure you saw a picture of a key and the phrase work in it.
Of course. That's the key for this episode.
I've got the screenshot right here.
There we go. Of course. Yes. So the key tells you how to transcribe the cryptogram in the credits. Long story short, each letter in working it correlates to a letter of the to a position in the alphabet. For example, A is 0, not 1, because there has to be a 0. Each letter, judging by their space in the alphabet, is how many spaces you move the credits cryptogram, Molly. It's easy.
Oh, I knew this. You're telling me stuff I already know, Charlie.
So you put work in it through, and you get, of course, get 'em.
I know that.
Obviously. And then, season 2, there is a card that flashes for a frame.
You know, that can be combined to create the one greater card using every end card once the season is over.
Presumably, yes.
But Molly knew this.
And this cipher, obviously, we all know this, is translated using a combination of the 3 cryptograms that we've used throughout season 1. This message translates to, be wary of whom you belittle.
No, Ella, do the voice. Ella, I'm begging you, do the voice.
You didn't have to beg, Charlie, but I appreciate it. Because, that would be in character. Be wary of whom you belittle. Big problems can start out whittle.
Molly, it was life-changing to have you here today.
And for me as well.
Molly, if you have anything to plug, like if you've been streaming a weird old public access show to Twitch.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I guess, because I don't know, I assume as people watch through Gravity Falls in their own time, they will treat this like a book club, so I don't know when in the future they might be watching.
That is very true, precisely.
Well, if they're listening with the release, it is currently April 27th, 2022.
Okay. I mean, well, so you could go to my website, mollylewis.wtf, which is maybe not current, but it is accurate. And you'll find a link there to my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/mollylele. Like Charlie said, I've been doing, my quarantine project has been, because I figured Twitch is a place where you go to watch other people look at screens.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, and you know, sort of annotate something that somebody else made. So I'm doing that with this basically unedited show called Visiting with Huell Hauser, where this loud man goes into a place and asks obvious questions about the things people care about. And he's like an introvert power fantasy. I love it so much.
Oh, that sounds great.
It's really fun. Like, you kind of, you know how you got a big, strong friend who will be like, oh, you own a sauerkraut factory? Oh, can my friend come too? And so I just kind of play bard to his sort of rogue or paladin. I don't even know what class he would be.
You're the balladeer that tells the legend of
Basically, yeah. I mean, there's kind of this emergent storytelling thing he does that is fascinating, where he just shows up and goes, what's the story here, people? And then they tell him.
See, that's it. That's exactly what I love about your sensibilities. You are finding something interesting and human and, like, genuinely, like, fascinating about this weird public access show. Like, what?
So, as I said, I only joined Molly's Patreon as a result of getting full-time work, so I have not really been able to check on that Discord or that Twitch that often because I'm so busy, but I've done it twice. I've popped in, like, I wonder what Molly's doing, and one time she was watching the commentary for Cats 2019.
That was a heady day to be in the Discord.
And another time, she was streaming Huell going to all of the fake White Houses in California.
Yeah, there's a half-size White House in California that's full of dolls, I guess.
Yes, because this person wanted to make a scale model of the White House on an actual property and also wanted to collect dolls and decided that these two hobbies did not conflict in the slightest.
Oh, that's where JFK Jr. is. He's small.
They shrunk him down to half.
He's a little JFK.
JFK was in the full-sized White House.
JFK Jr., his half-sized counterpart.
That's why they call him Junior.
Yeah.
He's Junior because he's doll-sized. He's working out of the half-size.
Meanwhile, JFK Jumbo, who Lyndon Johnson always likes talking about.
Good guess. It was something else.
Oh. You can't say that.
I didn't. I promise.
Well, Molly, it was so unfathomably wonderful having you on this podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by to talk about Gravity Falls with us.
Yeah, I really feel like you cracked open the atlas of the Gravity Falls fandom for me, and I'm honored to read whatever pages you'll show me.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Molly, we've cracked the atlas of we've cracked the atlas of the Gravity Falls fandom.
You heckin' sewed the binding of the atlas, yeah.
41 pages of this atlas so far, and we're still going strong. And if you want to find more pages of this atlas, go to our host network, pipedreampodcasts.com, where you can find other shows like Escape from Vault Disney, How Did This Not Get Made, and Come On Fahuquapods.
While you're there, you can find a link to our show's social medias, Discord server, and our Patreon, patreon.com/Mystery Shack. $3 will get you a shout out at the end of episodes. $5 will get you into viewing parties for the episode. And if you're listening on the day this comes out, join us tonight for the Stanchurian Candidate. And $40 will get you either a voice commission from Charley or an art commission from me, Ella. And be sure to check out our merch store at crowdmade.com/collections/Mystery Shack Lookback.
You can also contact us at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com if you want to contribute to our book club or time capsule, because you're allowed to. This is a lot of research for just Ella to do. It used to be the both of us, but I got a full-time job. Thank you to Brian for making the instrumental for our theme song and for voicing Stan in the Hall of Conspiracies intro. And thank you to Rob Renzetti for voicing Stan in the Patreon shoutouts. We got 2 Stans every episode. That's why this...
3, yeah,
well,
if
3,
you count,
counting Stanford. Whoa! Look, Gravity Falls had the whole 2 Stan twist.
That's been done.
Cool, sure. But Mystery Shack Lookback gives you the 3 Stan difference.
Yeah.
And that Hall of Conspiracies intro that Brian voiced Stan over, not Rob. That was the keep track.
Come on, keep up here, people. Come on, it's not that hard.
That song is called Lentil Dentist, which is a tribute to Lemon Demon. So if you enjoyed that campaign song from earlier, please go listen to the full thing at the link in the description. Thank you to Tsunami Holmes on Tumblr for the Stanford handwriting font in our thumbnails, which we could not... Listen, never ever share art without crediting the artist. But I had no way to say Stanford on this podcast.
Yeah, until now. So thank you, because it's a beautiful font.
Yeah, we have used that 41 times at this point. Nope, we didn't use it in the Fight Fighters thumb. But yes, you are an invaluable asset to this podcast. And Adam, we all got bird scene thrown on us, but it was us you chose to swap spit with, and I'm grateful.
I'm very flattered. So thank you again, Molly, for being here and talking about Gravity Falls. It was life-changing for Charley to discover your music in the first place, and it has been life-changing having you on this podcast. A second life-changing event.
It's like 2 lives at this point.
It's really, all 3 of our lives. I am forever changed by this experience.
And so I think to really put a bow on this episode about a corrupt train wreck of a doomed election, I think it is only fitting to close out with a song that you wrote, Molly, about a similarly doomed train wreck of an election. So here is my humble rendition of Pantsuit Sasquatch. Carry on with your business, there is nothing to see. You must be pretty desperate if you've come out looking for me. You regret how we parted, that is well understood. Now please leave me to sip on my wine and to wander the woods. Didn't I go where you sent me? Didn't I meet your demands? Didn't I answer your questions? Didn't I shake all your hands? Didn't I do the best I can? Wasn't I better than any man? Wasn't I cool and collected when all the crap hit the fan? Wasn't I cool? Wasn't I? You ask how I am doing, I assure you I'm fine. Just another man helping himself to what's rightfully mine. Did you say I look tired? I'm not tired at all. I was trying to shatter a ceiling where he built a wall. Didn't I check all the boxes? Didn't I follow routine? Didn't I travel the high road and never was petty or mean? And did I run a clean campaign? Did I inform and entertain? And did I let down my guard cause my rival had half of a brain? Did I let down, didn't I? All my credentials didn't matter. All my service and nobody cares. They tried to purchase the world on a platter, phoned in some favors and now it is theirs. You know it brings me no joy to see you will destroy just to feel in control. So goodbye. Look out below, I'm going high. I know you want your closure, 'cause the future's unclear. I feel no obligation to tell you what you wanna hear. Would you like me to save you? Would you like me to quit? Or would you prefer it if I taught myself how to knit? Couldn't you mind your own business? Couldn't you just leave me be? You brought this all on yourselves, gang. Don't try to pin it on me. Couldn't I peacefully retire into these hills I so admire? Couldn't I serve up the tea while he sets the whole party on fire? Couldn't I serve? Couldn't I? And when they write this history, I'll take the moral victory. Wasn't I right at the center of all that this country could be? Wasn't I right? Wasn't I?
Hey, YouTube Ford.
Hello, Table Read Stan. Care to explain what you're doing in my lab?
Well, I charged a bunch of people a lot of money just to say their names. Suckers. Anyway, there's a lot of them, and I don't feel like, reading them all myself. You want to do something?
I have many moral objections to this, but you've tempted me with an organized list. Thank you, too, Daddy Driftwood.
And Daddy Buttons.
Friendly Local Geek.
Fun Boringness.
Hugh Salinas.
Juno Series, I guess it's pronounced.
Liz Clark.
David, oh boy, okay. Gansel?
You got it, yes, Gansel.
Aren't you Mr. Fancy?
I was voted Mr. Fancy 5 years running.
Don't remind me, I remember.
Richard Scanland.
Jamie Belts. I want to belt a couple of shots of whiskey after this list. Go ahead.
Ryan Faber.
Stephen Patrick Mulholland. Oh, Mulholland Drive. Very interesting. All right.
It's a good film. Gwen Prime.
Junior Bruh.
Joseph Jones.
Olive Pluto.
Oliver. There's an R there, Stan.
Oh, Oliver Pluto. I'm sorry. I was distracted by the object that's no longer a planet at the end.
Kuiper object. That's the term.
Whatever for. That was your thing, not mine. Oliver Pluto.
Petey Piranha Plant.
Elizabeth Neuenfeld.
Mumpleteen D. Wumpleteen.
Oh boy, these kids these days. Vanillin Sucker.
Zucker, not sucker.
Whatever. He's a sucker. He might be a Zucker, but he's also a sucker. Vanillin Zucker.
Ro Davis.
Adam with 2 A's, a D, and an M.
Delphine Dussy.
May. Just May.
Jessie Marie McDougal.
B. Calisoda.
Rich Rawl.
Easy Snake Oven.
Samantha Angley. And Spencer Neil Campbell. Stan, what are all these patrons paying for anyway?
Oh, just the essentials. This brown meat doesn't buy itself.
Nor does Fully Clothed Women magazine, evidently.
Hey, keep your hands off that. Help me stock up for the apocalypse at patreon.com/Mystery Shack.